¿Qué pasó, familia? Today we've got the Arsenal versus Bournemouth preview for the match on the weekend on Saturday, 5:30 kickoff. And today we've got the special guest. We've got a special guest up the cherries in all departments. I got my boy Craig here. How you doing, bro?
Yeah, really, really good. And thank you so much for having me on, mate.
No worries, just having a little sip. It's a Friday. Listen, got to put your
Yeah.
feet up, man. It's a
Do you know
Friday.
what? I should have bought some before I actually come on here. That, would have made sense. There's a shop just over the road. And, to be fair, I completely forgot. So
Listen, it is what it is. It is what it is. I'm sure after the stream you can go get yourself a beer.
yeah,
But
definitely, mate.
yeah,
Definitely.
listen. Let's start off with Bournemouth first. Let's get on
hmm
with Bournemouth. Obviously, you lost to Man City. That's nothing to go in too much about. There's no, there's nothing to write about losing to Man City. Anyone can lose to Man City. Even Arsenal can lose to Man City. They are Man City. But you did perform really well against Aston Villa, and I think that was a surprise. I myself was surprised. You guys have just
hmm
returned from the Championship back up to the Premier League. Well, what do you make of your last performance, and what's the expectations around Bournemouth for this season, and how have you guys moved on from Eddie Howe?
So, with regards to the performance against Aston Villa, it was a bit of a surprise. We expected, because of our centre back issues, which seem to have now been resolved, um, we expected it to be very difficult. Didn't really expect to get much out of the game. It was more hope than anything. What the issue was last season. We started this year with Zeno Ibson Rossi as centre back. He's now at Cambridge. He did well. He played only 4 games. He did well, but then Gary Cahill come in, and Cahill, was outstanding. Got an injury against Millwall, and then Steve Cook come back, and Cookie had been out for 20 games, and it's the longest time during his whole career at Bournemouth. Um, he was virtually ever present under Eddie Howe and also Jason Tyndall as well. He's captain under Jason Tyndall. Um, it was the longest time he'd ever been out, and there was always these questions of whether or not he was going to leave. But he put in a great shift against Fulham. He dived down at the ball twice, and then we sold him. It was rumoured that he was going to go to QPR. He ended up going to Nottingham Forest in the end. And then Nat Phillips coming on loan. We had a game in the FA Cup against Boreham Wood, which everybody probably remember was terrible. We got beat by them. But from that point onwards, he was rock solid. He's gone back to Liverpool, and we didn't really do much to replace him and replace the defenders that we had lost during last season. Cahill was released. Cookie, of course, had gone to Forest and helped them go up. And Liverpool didn't seem to want to give us back Nat Phillips. So we had to start with Chris Metham at the back. And Chris Metham, if you remember, he was the one that pulled back the Brentford player, Mbembe, when he was through on goal, pulled him back, got sent off, and that changed the whole playoff tie a year earlier before we was promoted. So there was real concerns about him coming in. We didn't feel that he was up to the Premier League standard, but he had a really, really good game, and he was outstanding against City as well. Of course, City are a different kettle of fish. It's going to be always going to be a difficult game, whoever comes up against them. But he was put in an outstanding shift. We've since signed Marco Sensei from Feyenoord, and he looks good. He looks good. He did get a short run out against Man City, but I think that has solved those issues. So the Aston Villa result comes as quite a nice surprise that we can do it. Jefferson Lerma went into the defence as well and put in a fantastic performance. He scored after 3 minutes as well. And then we finished it off with Kiefer Moore on 80 minutes. And, you know, absolutely outstanding performance considering. And to be fair, Scott Parker did this last season as well. for the first 4 games of the championship season, we got 37 points from the first 15 games in the championship. But it seemed like it was a side that was a little bit bolted together because of injuries and players out. Um, and I think, of course, Metham was suspended as well. I would have guessed Metham probably would have started instead of Ibsen Rossi. But, I think it was bolted together, that first team. And I think, we put in a real good shift, and got a fantastic result. Man City, again, we put in a good performance. Um, we didn't expect anything there. But so far, we're happy. We're happy with how everything's gone. And hopefully, we can push on. We're expecting the next 2 games, of course, Arsenal tomorrow, and then we've got Liverpool away. We're expecting those 2 games to be difficult before the real business starts. So at the end, so 31st of August, we've got Wolves. And to be fair, that's a game that we can win. And I'm sure that that's one that Scott Parker's earmarked to get some points on the board. But anything from the top 6 is a bonus in my eyes.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, what league position would you take? I mean, if you can, if you could say right now, what league position, just avoid relegation. I mean, you guys have just come back up. You've got Nottingham Forest spending a lot of money. You've got other teams around you that already have Premier League experience. Where would you say would be a position that if Bournemouth finished at the end of the season, you'd be happy with?
I'd take 17th.
Okay.
I would take 17th this season. And primarily that is because of the strength of this league. I'm sure there's 3 teams that we're better than in the league. Fulham, I think that Mitrovic has started okay. He's done well, but I think they might struggle as the season progresses. Um, I don't see much in Everton. Don't see much in Everton at all. I think they're quite poor. And I did say Leeds at one point, but Leeds have got off to quite a good start. So our rivals down the M27, I think they could be in serious trouble. But I think there's 3 teams worse than us. Is there 4 or 5? I don't know. I think it's going to be a scrap, whatever.
Fair enough. Fair enough. What kind of what players in the Bournemouth team do you feel Arsenal should be looking out for and should be aware that could cause that damage and potentially win you the game on Saturday?
I think one player that you got to look at is Dominic Solanke up front. I think he is, and he really benefited from us being relegated to the Championship because he was behind both Callum Wilson and Josh King the last time we were in this league. When he did get his run out, he didn't really shine. But then again, he's a young player who was trying to get, experience from whatever snippets that he could. But he's really, really benefited from being relegated. So the first season, we did question whether or not he'd score 20 goals in a season. But he did that. And then last season, he managed to hit 30. And he's not a greedy striker. Even those figures probably suggest that he isn't. What he'll do is he'll pull the ball back for somebody like Lerma, for Billing, who are probably the other 2 players that I would mention, so they can have a shot. Billing is very, very bright with. He's normally the free kick taker in certain situations, and he's very, very bright. He's not very good in the air. He's a very tall player. He's not very good in the air, but he's quite skillful for a big man. And he set up the goal for Kiefer Moore that actually got us promoted as well. Jefferson Lerma, of course, he's tough tackling. I'm sure fans of Arsenal will probably remember him from the previous seasons in the Premier League. And he's tough. He's tough. He's got a lot of quality. Colombian international, and he's going to be pivotal this season. But one player I do need to mention, and he's going to be coming up against Saka. Of course, on the right hand side, Saka will be on the right. Jordan Zamora in the left of defence. Well, effectively, he's like a winger,
Yeah.
but he's very fast. He can read the game very well, and you know, I can see him going to a top 6 club eventually. We won't be able to keep him long run, and I think it's important for us to tie him down to a long-term contract because he has got. I believe he's in his last year, um, but he's a very, very good player and somebody who is going to shine in the Premier League without a shadow of a doubt. And even if we go down, Jordan Zamora won't be going with us.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, you know what? It's funny that we touch on Solanke because didn't you guys buy him from Liverpool for like something like 20 odd million pounds?
We did, yeah. Yeah, we did. And he struggled to break through and get past Callum Wilson. Callum Wilson was fantastic for the club. He's been a bit more injury prone since he's been at Newcastle. I do feel sorry for him in that sense. And Josh King did compliment Callum very well as well. Josh King hasn't really done that much, to be fair, since he left the club.
Yeah.
And I think in his last season, he he struggled a little bit with form. His form went down. So Solanke did get the odd snippets of chances, but you couldn't really break those two up. Sometimes, if Eddie would decide to, he would play with just Callum up front, especially against the bigger teams. Play with just Callum up front. Whereas in the previous season, and I think this might be, and this was a conversation that I had yesterday actually, and I think Eddie's philosophy changed in that season that we went down. To be fair, we were unlucky to go down because of COVID. We had the Hawkeye situation. We also had a VAR. It was awful decision at Burnley where we actually got it to 1-1, and then because Adam Smith had judged to have handled it, it's pulled back. So from going to 1-1, we went 2-0 down. So we was unlucky. We did have things that went against us. But personally, I think, I think that, Solanke, is a good player. And I think, I think he will do well. I think he will do well this time around.
I only brought
And
him up because I find it funny that, Liverpool are able to get that much money from a player that was never in their first team, never kicked the ball for them. And at Arsenal, we struggle to sell players like Leno. We can't even get the valuation for Leno. Buy him for 20 odd million pounds, sell him for free. And that's why when I look back at that and I'm like, how can they sell players like that? And Arsenal, we can't even get rid of players that once upon a time was a starter at Arsenal. We can't get rid of Bellerin and etc. So that's the only reason why I brought that up.
Liverpool, to be fair, Liverpool have done Bournemouth over a couple of times in the past. So we had Brad Smith that joined from Liverpool for quite a hefty fee in the first season. We were in the Premier League, didn't really do much, and was let go a couple of seasons after. And then we had, and you might remember Jordan Ibe.
Yeah.
Who, of course, to be fair, the only good thing he ever did was in that 2-1 win back in 2018 against Arsenal. He scored that second goal. Apart from that, what would I say about Jordan Ibe? Very skillful player. Not confident at all. Well, I say not confident. He would try and take on everybody several times, but he was never confident in person. And it was just a shame. I think there was a good player there, but
How
he
much
was
did you
just.
buy him for?
I think it was 15 million. I think it was
15 million
15
pounds.
million. So he was at Wickham before he went to Liverpool, and then Liverpool sold him to us for 15 million. I think he did get a couple of games actually, unlike Solanke for
Yeah.
Liverpool. But yeah, he was disappointing. in all respects. And I do feel for him because he's had his own problems since, which I'm sure everybody can have a read about. But yeah, in the Premier League, it takes no prisoners, and somebody who's taken on and successfully taken on the player, and then turns around and takes him on again, or will always go for the shot instead of looking to, okay, there's Callum Wilson in a better position. That's not the sort of player that you can afford, really, especially at our level.
Mhm. No, fair enough. Fair enough. For me, when I'm looking at Arsenal, I feel like we got the job done in our first match of the season, but against Leicester, I think we played a lot better. Crystal Palace, I felt like the result was good, but the performance wasn't really there. But against Leicester, I think the performance was a lot better. Players even that I critique a lot, that I still don't believe are good enough for Arsenal, actually turned up. Granit Xhaka is somebody that I always get into, and I'd love him to just leave my club. We saw Xhaka Boom. We only get Xhaka Boom once every season.
Yeah.
And ironically, when I was doing the watch along, I was like, we might have a Xhaka Boom, and he actually scored. And even though I can critique some players, when they have a good game, I can give them props because I think it's only fair. But overall, doesn't change the fact that he's been here for 6 years and not been good enough. As a team, I feel like we looked very good. Gabriel Jesus goes without saying, he's been immense since he's been here at Arsenal. Saliba is another one that I wanted to actually join the team last season, and this season we're seeing exactly why he has all the attributes that Ben White doesn't. Obviously, at the moment with the injuries, we're playing Ben White at right back. Then we have players like Gabriel that I actually think is a good defender. But the problem with Gabriel is because he was partnered up with Ben White, a defender that his biggest attribute, super Arsenal police fans tell me, his biggest attribute is passing it out from the back, as if a footballer these days is unable to pass a football. You see his deficiencies defensively, and we saw it last season and this season. I mean, he did a half decent job against Zaha, keeping him quiet on our right hand side, their left hand side against Crystal Palace. But the guy defensively leaves a lot to be desired. I don't think he's the end all and be all. I don't really think he was worth £50 million we spent on him. Then you have Zinchenko, that I feel like he's played very, very well. I've been very impressed with Zinchenko, but then again, he's come from a winning mentality. Odegaard has been one of the guys that I've been saying ever since he come to Arsenal, I've been saying this guy's not good enough. And once again, we saw not only against Crystal Palace but also against Leicester that Odegaard is not good enough. This field that is not good enough. I'm telling you, he's one of them players. Yeah, he only shines when the team start playing a high line or opening up defensively and throwing a kitchen sink at it. And even against Leicester, when they were chasing the game, even then he still didn't look that effective. And this is why I've not been very convinced by him. He's a very up and down player. And I've said it before, Real Madrid, when they get rid of players, they don't really get it wrong. When they let Di Maria go, they didn't really miss him. You know what I mean? When they let... I remember when we had Ceballos, we had Ceballos before at Arsenal. We saw why Real Madrid were trying to get rid of him because we didn't want to sign him up on a permanent. Again, with Odegaard, he's not good enough. And you see it, when Real Madrid don't want you, you're really not that great. And they've got some oldies there that they're still hanging on to because they're ballers like Modric, etc., Cruz, etc. So, he's another one that's underwhelming. Obviously, Granit Xhaka played well, but I want an upgrade in that position. Thomas Partey was excellent. So, Martinelli played very, very well. I think he started the season off very well. Saka has not been effective in our last 2 games against Crystal Palace and against Leicester. But I'm not going to blame him completely because on the right-hand side, you got Ben White and he doesn't have the recovery pace. So he doesn't have someone overlapping him, a fullback overlapping him like we do on the left-hand side with Zinchenko overlapping Martinelli. So in both games, they were doubling up on Saka and he had no one to play the ball off or to drag another defender off of him so he can, beat a man on the one-on-one. So he was very quiet. He also needs to take accountability for his performances, but he is a player that I do like alongside Martinelli. And I'm sure when, Tomiyasu's back, he seems to be the preferred right back for Arsenal. I'm sure that, we'll see a lot more from Saka. But the same problems persist at Arsenal. If I'm going to be completely honest with you, bro, like at the end of the day, our midfield is still the deadest out of the big six. You know, outside of Thomas Partey, none of our midfielders get into any of the big six teams. You know, Xhaka's not good enough, and we know that. We know that Odegaard ain't the be all and end all. Vieira, we don't know. He's in a protective boot. You know what I mean? He's the Portuguese Carl Kostrom. That flipping, he looks like Teabag from Prison Break. You know what I mean? I don't know if he's good enough or not. I don't know. You know, Arsenal fans all of a sudden watch the Portuguese league. I don't know no one that watches the Portuguese league unless you are Portuguese. You know what I mean? This guy, we don't know how good he is. He's gone from the sixth biggest league in world football to the best league in world football. That's a lot of levels, you know what I mean, to go up in and to say, you know, because he put up good numbers in Portugal, he's going to have put good numbers here. We'll see. We will see on that one. Thomas Partey, when he got injured, when he got injured last season, we had El Nene. We signed El Nene to an extension, and it looks like we're not going to get another CDM. I mean, even with 10 games to go, El Nene wasn't good enough to get us over the line to get top four. God forbid me asking for us to be in a title race. So we can see that there. And deep line playmaker, I mean, maybe we'll play Fabio Vieira, but we should still get rid of Granit Xhaka because Granit Xhaka has shown for 6 years he's not good enough. The wingers, we don't have much rotation unless we rotate with Smith Rowe, but he's another youngster learning his game. We've got Marquinhos learning his game. And then we've got our two starters, Saka and Martinelli, are both learning their game. So we haven't strengthened in that department. Pepe's getting kicked out. And then in the striker department, you've got Gabriel Jesus, who's been playing immense. But if he gets injured, you're going levels back down to Nketiah. And Nketiah, that even West Ham didn't want to go in for again and chose to go for Scamacca. So he can't be that great because they could have got him on a free and they still chose to pay money and wages for Scamacca instead. So it's not all solved at Arsenal.
I'm guessing you don't agree with Patrick Vieira because Patrick Vieira come out and said that Arsenal were title challengers this season.
No way.
No. The one thing you have mentioned there, actually, and this is where one of our strengths is our midfield. So in the Championship, it was quite clear to see that we had a Premier League midfield. So you've got the likes of Billing, you've got Lerma, you've got Lewis Cook there in the centre. On the right-hand side, we've got Ryan Christie. Left-hand side, Jadon Anthony. We've now signed Marcus Tavernier as well, who had a really, really good game against Aston Villa. So one thing you could say, I've got to mention as well, Ben Pearson. Ben Pearson actually started both the first two games. Now, we didn't expect that at all because he wasn't playing so much in the Championship. But he's coming to the Premier League side and he offers something a little bit different because he's quite physical. He puts himself about, put him and Lerma together. It could make it quite an awkward afternoon, evening for the Arsenal midfield, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, from what I see, the way you set up against Aston Villa, you're playing a 3-4-2-1. Odegaard's going to have trouble in trying to break that down, and not only Odegaard doesn't have the ability to, put the ball through the eye of a needle and seek that pass that we once upon a time had in our midfielders. The player behind him in Granit Xhaka, if he's only going to have a good game if he's not getting overrun in midfield. Granit Xhaka, when he's under pressure and made to make quick, decisive decisions, is too slow. And we know that we play it out from the back. Granit Xhaka is not fast enough. Getting it from deep, getting the ball from defense and transition it to attack. That is a problem with Granit Xhaka. He wants a lot more time on the ball. And luckily it went his way against Leicester. But if you guys, if your midfield is going to be pressuring him and making him, make quick decisions, I don't trust Granit Xhaka. And we all know when Granit Xhaka gets overrun and the game ain't going his way, he will pull you back. He will do a Hadouken, a Tekken Hadouken. He'll do a Shawn Michaels sweet chin music. You know what I mean? This is the career that we'll see from this guy. Do you know what I mean? You'll be surprised. I'll be surprised if he doesn't choke slam one of your players. You know what I mean? Through the steel table. Like, this is the type of thing that Granit Xhaka does. When the game ain't going his way, he's always able to throw the game away for Arsenal and get us a man down. So you got Partey that plays well, but this is the problem. We got Gabriel Jesus, And we know that, the service is going to get that he got at Man City, he's not going to get at Arsenal. But this is
Yeah.
why I want a deep line playmaker on the mode of Santi Cazorla that is able to play in tight spaces, even if he's getting pressed, and it's able to transition the ball very quick from defense to attack. And I still don't
Yeah.
believe that we have that kind of player. We have been performing against teams we should be beating, and I do believe that we have the squad to beat you. But with all due respect, that's not where I measure Arsenal. Do you know what I mean? So, and I
Yeah.
have seen Arsenal pick and choose when they want to turn up. Like when we saw in pre-season, Arsenal beat Sevilla, Arsenal beat Chelsea. I saw this all the way last year under Mikel Arteta, which is why I got onto this manager. Because in the first game of the North London derby, the way we played football, that the first 45 minutes, that was reminiscent of the old Arsenal under Arsene
Yeah.
Wenger, prime Arsene Wenger. The way we one-touch football, the way we completely obliterated them. So I saw that this team had the ability, even though there are holes in the team, they have that ability. Now, what kind of Arsenal is going to turn up? Because the Arsenal against Crystal Palace didn't have the performance and were, for large parts of that match, were getting dominated, but we
Yeah.
got the results. But the one against Leicester, the performance was there and the result is there. So you guys can definitely get at us, because Arsenal can sometimes be their own worst enemy when we don't start off the game properly, and we only play well for 20 minutes, not 90
Yeah.
minutes. And this is why I critique this manager, because for 90, how can you be here for 3 years and not be able to get these players to consistently perform for 90 minutes when Conte's been there for months, put out his second team, and even they are able to perform for 90 minutes?
Yeah. No, no, very true. And to be honest, I did start thinking that Arteta is making slow progress with Arsenal. With Jesus, I think it's the shackles have come off of Jesus in the games I've seen. The first two games, I think he plays with a little bit more freedom than he did at Man City. Um, However, as you mentioned, the midfield, from what you've told me as well, isn't the strongest. And I think that is where this game, and I'm sure Scott Parker would have looked at that and thought, right, okay, what we'll do is we'll get amongst them, make sure Ben Pearson will chase Zaka all day. You know, if he's got the ball, he will chase him all day, and you know, it will be quite a physical battle. He's quite a fair player, Pearson, but he's very physical. So he will put in some meaty challenges. Will always win the ball when he does so. But yeah, it's not going to be an easy afternoon, especially for Granit Xhaka if Ben Pearson is tasked with doing that.
Yeah, this is the problem. It's like, Arsenal look great when we're not pressed. So if you guys are not going to press us, we'll look great because we'll just pass it around you, pass it, pass it, pass it. But the problem is we don't really have anyone to break you down. And even Gabriel
Yeah,
Jesus, he's been playing very well. He's been doing the way he's been linking with Martinelli has been
yeah,
great. But he doesn't have the midfielder to really assist him. Yes, Granit Xhaka played well, but we know a 31-year-old Granit Xhaka, this is how as good as it's going to get. We don't know what Granit Xhaka is going to turn up against Bournemouth. We don't know. We
yeah,
know because we already know that this guy cannot do it for a whole season. So Martin Odegaard is another one, and Fabio Vieira, I don't know if he is ready yet to start the match against Bournemouth, and if he's even good enough for the Premier League, really. If he's even any better than Odegaard. I would suggest he's not, because he plays in the same position as Odegaard, and yet Odegaard's the one that's got the captaincy. So I don't really see him being better than him if Odegaard's got the captaincy, when only one of them can play. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean?
No, yeah, completely understand where you're coming from on that front. Um, I'm quietly, to be honest, we don't expect to win this game.
Yeah.
Arsenal are one of the top six. However, we do have strengths like our midfield, which if they and to be fair, based on what you've told me, I think that Scott Parker should perhaps go for Lerma, because Lerma's been playing in defence. Push Lerma into midfield, Ben Pearson alongside him, and that could work quite well. We don't know whether or not Solanke's going to play, because he did have a knock before the Man City game, and Kiefer Moore played instead. That might change things, because Kiefer Moore He's a bit of a slower forward, but he's
Right.
a target man. So he's one of those players that balls will come straight into the box and he'll get his head on it. Like against Forest, when we won promotion, Billing, if he's got a free kick, he'll pass it. And he's very, very precise with his free kicks. This is the good thing about Billing. He'll pass it straight into the feet of Kiefer Moore, and then Kiefer Moore, when he's one-on-one with the goalkeeper, 9 times out of 10, you'd expect him to score it, but he's not the quickest. Whereas Solanke offers that a little bit different, a bit more skillful, not that greedy as well. So I think we should definitely start with Solanke if he is fit, and
Yeah.
fingers crossed he is. As and in defence, I think Sensei will play as well, which will allow Lerma to go into that midfield.
No, fair enough. I mean, we should get into predictions now because I still, even with all these deficiencies, I do think that we have the squad to still win this game. I think Saliba's been immense. He's been a revelation in defense so far. Even when he scored the own goal against Leicester, the way he still, other than that, he didn't put a foot wrong, and that was just a miscommunication with the goalkeeper because he's just come into the team. But the way he reads the game, you can't outrun him, you can't outmuscle him. The way he times his tackles is great. Zinchenko as well, he's really been, releasing Martinelli. Martinelli's been really great as well. Gabriel Jesus goes without saying. I mean, the chip that he did the other day against Leicester was just sensational, man. And the way the guy plays, he creates his own luck. So even if he's not getting a service, the thing is, we've now got a striker that can create his own luck, and I think he got both strengths from our previous strikers. I think he can finish like Aubameyang, but he can also build up play and also bring in the wingers and the midfielders into play like Lacazette used to do. So, I've been very impressed with him, but the jury's still out whether he can do it, hit 20 plus goals being the main man for one of the big teams in England. But I've been very, very impressed, and I'm more than happy for him to shut me up. And I think Thomas Partey as well has been playing very well. As long as we can keep him fit, he played some excellent balls through to Gabriel Jesus as well against Leicester. And Saka's always a threat, but he really needs to step up his game. If I was you guys personally, even though I'm going to go for a 2-1 win for Arsenal, I would be targeting Xhaka and I would be targeting Ben White. Both of these guys defensively ain't that great. Both of these guys do not act well under pressure. Both of these guys seem to, most of the time, be very reactionary and not take the right decisions under pressure. And I think if you definitely catch Ben White out position, you can blitz him because he hasn't got the legs, and Granit Xhaka also has not got the legs. Those would be the two that I would be looking to frustrate and looking to get onto. And definitely our right-hand side, if Ben White starts, is where you guys should be targeting, in my opinion. I'm going for a 2-1. What's your match prediction?
To be honest, just before I go on to that, the player that Ben White's probably going to be facing is Marcus Tavernier, who is quick. So I'm not sure how Arteta would approach that, because Tavernier is skillful, and like you say, I know a bit about Ben White. He isn't the quickest. He's quite slow, very pass out the back. I still think you've got too much for us, to be honest. And if you ask me from my head, I'd probably say agree with you, 2-1 Arsenal. However, with my heart, I would actually go 2-1 Bournemouth, but sometimes the head rules the heart. But I think I still think you've got a little bit too much for us, and we can't call upon Jordan Ibe. Not that we'd want to really this time out.
Listen, we don't know the Premier League. This is why we love this league, because you never know. Nothing's a foregone conclusion. You know what I mean? We've seen bigger upsets in the Premier League. It's a league that, no matter where you're going to finish in the season, anyone can beat anyone. So it is what it
United.
Is. Right? I didn't want to go there.
Yeah, I'll go there for you, mate. Honestly, I'll go there for you. But it is quite funny, isn't it?
Do you know what I love? You know what I love about it? My family's divided between Man United and Arsenal supporters. And Man United, all my Man United family were so cocky because our demise came first. And I said to them, I said, when Fergie leaves, you're gonna know my pain. Listen, now they know my pain. Coming on 10 years, no trophies, not doing anything, not challenging. And then a lot of fans that come new age fans are now telling the rest of them to calm down and bigging up little things, like bigging up players that are dead. Like Maguire would never get into a Fergie team. Do you know what I mean? Some of these players, like, Bruno Fernandes, I know he's my fellow countryman, but as a footballer, the guy he's rubbish. You know what I mean? But I'm loving it. I'm loving it. May it continue.
Yeah, exactly. But you got to also look on the bright side. Both Arsenal and Man United have won more than that other lot in North London, haven't they? They haven't won nothing.
Well, this is it. Listen.
This is empty.
Listen, it's mad, because I'll take their striker, I'll take Son, and I'll take their manager. I wanted their manager, and that's why I'm so annoyed, because as Arsenal's demise, we could have went for Ancelotti, and people told me he was washed and he goes wins Champions League. I wanted Conte. Oh, he's rubbish. Nobody wants him. He's rubbish. he ain't got all the players he needs, like the super fans tell me. He hasn't spent almost 400 million pounds, and he was able to get Champions League, which is something yet this manager is yet to achieve. So, as much as Tottenham, the only things they can celebrate, their only trophies are players like Harry Kane and Son. At the same time, I'm seeing their club being run a lot better and more efficient than Arsenal. They're able to look how many holes they've plugged. We still got a lot to do this transfer market. And a lot of things have been sold to the fans, and they're never held to those standards. January came, we got rid of Aubameyang, we got rid of 6 players, we never replaced any of them. And now it comes to the summer, and we still got to revamp our midfield, and that hasn't been done. Jesus and Zinchenko is not going to strengthen our team, and this is why I keep saying, like, it's not good enough. Don't take your foot off the Kroenkes' necks, because these guys are the ones that told us we're supposed to be coming to the Emirates to compete with Bayern Munich. It's been 19 years. We're not even in the Champions League. You know what I'm saying? It's just a lot of fake promises, And while the fake promises have been going on, the ticket prices have gone up. The shirt prices have gone up. The season tickets was already the most expensive in the league when we haven't even been competing for 19 years. It's just not good enough. And it's just got to a point where for me, I kind of dropped a little bit out of love with Arsenal, because I feel like if my team does everything, my club does everything that needs to be done. Get proper players in, get proper scouting in. Don't let players run down their contracts, which we keep doing. Terminating contracts, all these things that we do, not getting a proper manager in. If we did everything that needs to be done and Arsenal are challenging and don't win, I can at least say, you know what? I got some pride. My club has been run properly. My club is challenging. It's doing everything it can. But when we're spending more than Liverpool in the last 6 years, spending more than Liverpool, look at Liverpool's team, look at our team. Look at Liverpool's manager, look at Arsenal's manager. Do you know what I mean? Because the excuse is always, we can't compete with oil rich. Well, how can Liverpool do it? Do you know what I mean? They're in the Premier League. How are they spending less than us? And look at the quality of team they've got and look at what we've got. So as much as I want to laugh at Man United, I keep my powder dry, because I know, that there's so much yet to be done at Arsenal that when we come across the big 6 teams, we ain't got the minerals, we ain't got the players to compete. Because like I told you, when we played pre-season, we played our second string team against Brentford B team. We lost. Players like Onene, players like Rob Holding, players like all these man, Cedric and all they're not good. They're not even good enough to beat a Brentford B team. And people are like, but our starting lineup. Yeah, but the reason you've got a big team with subs is because suspensions happen, fatigue happen. You know what I mean? Injuries happen. So eventually, along like last season when we had 10 games to go, you have to rely on Xhaka, you have to rely on El Nene and Nketiah. And they weren't even good enough to get us top 4. So why am I going to change my tune because we got one striker, because we got one left back? That doesn't change anything. Marquinhos came in. He's not a starter. Looks like he may be even going out on loan. We got Trusty. He went straight out on loan to Birmingham City. So he can't be that great. We got Tina Turner. We got Tina Turner as a goalkeeper. We know he ain't getting in over Ramsdale. It's like, when you actually look at the recruitment, it ain't good enough. Last year, when we got in the summertime, when we got Tavaj, he's gone out on loan. Within less than a year, he's deemed not good enough. Not good enough. Yeah. Then we get Lokonga. He ain't good enough. He's always holding the bench. We already know Xhaka's not good enough. So this guy, what? He's worse than Xhaka? Cool. So he's not good enough. Ben White, he's so great. He's been pushed to right back. Yeah, Saliba's taken his place. So apparently he was the defender that we needed, but he's been pushed to the right back, and Gabriel and Saliba's playing over him. When you actually look at a lot of players that we get in, most of them are going out on loan or being deemed not good enough and holding the bench. It's not been really that great, bro. Like, honestly, when you really assess it, it's not been that great. But I hear some fans saying it's a 10 out of 10 transfer window. I don't know what they're smoking. I don't know what they're doing in their free time. But I'm telling you, it ain't been nowhere near that. You know what I'm saying?
We was worried it was going to be a poor transfer window. We signed, of course, Ryan Fredericks from West Ham, and then we signed Joe Rothwell from Blackburn, and they were both free transfers. But we thought, okay, nothing's happening with regards to the centre back position. To be honest, what a difference 3 transfers make. So Marcus Tavernier comes in. Wasn't really my choice, really, to come in. I thought, right, okay, why are we bringing somebody in like that when we should be focusing on this centre back position? But he's proved us wrong. He's done well. But we've also signed Neto and then Marcus Senesi from Feyenoord, and that transfer window it's looking really good. And there is rumours that we are going to tear another part of Blackburn away and get Ben Brereton Diaz as well from
I've
them.
heard of him. He's Chilean, isn't it? He's plays for the Chile national team.
Well, believe it or not, I believe he was born in Yorkshire, but he's playing for the Chilean national team, and he's advertising Pepsi and everything over there in Chile. So the Diaz bit only was added after he played for the Chilean side, and for some reason, him adding Diaz to his name has made him a lot better player as well, from what I understand.
The Latin sauce.
Exactly. It works. It works.
Now, I saw a documentary on him. He looks like he's been pretty good. I've been wondering why no one's take a punt on him, because I think his mum's half Chilean. That's how he's
Yes.
able to play for the Chilean national team. But he's more English than Chilean, but he is Chilean.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the whole story of it. So yeah, he looks a good player, and to be honest, if we can bring
How
him in,
much do you think you're getting for?
the rumours are about 15. Yeah, 15 mil. I believe Everton are also in for him, but then again, I can't see why. There was rumours that Everton were after Solanke. I can't see why anybody would want to go to Everton. Sorry, Everton fans, but I just don't. I think they're right in trouble this season, in big, big trouble.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Yeah, Brereton Diaz, he's actually somebody that I've actually seen. He looks good in the championship, but you know what it is with the championship? It's like, like Fulham, they've got like Mitrovic. He's too good
Yeah.
for the championship, but not good enough for the Premier League. And it's certain players are like that. And I'd like to see, obviously, it would be a first time in the Premier League. I'd like to see if he could kick on in the Premier League, or if he's not. Another one is Armstrong. Obviously, I play a lot of Football Manager, so yeah. Right now, I'm actually doing QPR. Listen, Arsenal fans, don't hang me. Yeah, I needed to make a challenge. You know what I'm saying? Got them to League Two. We're back in the Championship, baby. We're gonna get promoted first time. But Armstrong is another one. Like he's not really kicked on in the Premier League, but he looks too good for the Championship. Do you see Brereton Diaz, if he comes to Bournemouth, being like that, or do you feel like you play to his strengths and he can shine in the Premier League?
I think he'll shine, but I think he'll need a little bit of time. And the good thing is with Solanke and Kiefer Moore, I think Jamal Lowe will probably leave on loan if Ben Brereton Diaz comes in. Jamal Lowe is a very good player at a lower level. He can do a job in the Championship. I don't know if he could in the Premier League. He might surprise us. Chris Metham has. So I think Ben Brereton Diaz will be able to do it. I think he offers something a little bit different. He's quite a flair player. So I think that would be, and the good thing is of course Scott Parker was at Fulham before, and a lot of people made and said that he only had one way of playing He didn't have a plan B. It
Mm.
seems like he's got that here this time round. We found out last season because there was concerns at times. We didn't beat Peterborough at all. We drew twice against Peterborough. The game against Reading, we were 1-0 up. And I think his hand was forced into a substitution. If it wasn't, it was a very daft substitution. Um, but as soon as that second half started, just didn't have a clue how to change the game.
Mm.
But of course, Kiefer Moore was out injured at that time.
Right.
And we found out just towards the end of the season, like in the Swansea game, we were 3-0 down against Swansea. Kiefer Moore comes on, changes that game. We found out against Nottingham Forest, Kiefer Moore, again, I think he's plan B. And will Ben Brereton Diaz be a plan C? Most probably. So, yeah, I would, I'm quite excited if he does come in.
No, fair enough. I mean, there's a lot of strikers that I bought on FIFA career mode. I can't lie, from the championship. I bought Jamal Lowe. I bought
Yeah.
Dembele. There's a Scottish player, Dembele. Who else is I bought? There's another one from Peterborough. He's a youngster called Ricky J Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's another one. Like, yeah, on FIFA anyway, he's wavy. I don't watch him in real life. But on FIFA, he turns out to be an absolute baller, like the pace, everything. But yeah, like it's interesting. The championship is such an interesting league, and you've got teams like Nottingham Forest coming up and getting all these buys. I mean, just a little bit off topic, just to spicing it up a little bit. What have you made of Nottingham Forest and all the acquisitions they've made? Because I think they've spent over 100 mil strengthening their team.
I think it's even more than that. I think it's about 170 because Morgan Gibbs-White has joined them as well. So they
What do you make of Gibbs White? Because I don't even know about this brother, yeah. But I was just like, yo, 44 million pound football's gone crazy. There's no way. What do you make of him? Have you seen a lot of him?
He was at Sheffield United last season, and when we come up against him, he looked good. Okay. He's a good player. But he's unproven in the Premier League. And the question is I know he's had odd games for Wolves here and then, but I question whether or not, I think with Nottingham Forest, what they've done is because they had so many loan players on last season, they've had to sign all these players and hope that they gel. If they go down, they could be in all sorts of problems. And I think, from that game against West Ham, it looks like they might be all right. But there's only a limit of how much they can change things, really. Or surely there's only a limit because it's a completely different side to the side that actually went up. Steve Cook didn't play in their first game. I understand he was injured against Newcastle. And Cookie has got Premier League experience. I think he should be the first name on their team sheet. But fair enough. I think sometimes too many transfers. We saw that at Fulham as well. We did see that at Fulham. Too many transfers. They don't gel together, and the side ends up getting relegated anyway.
Further than that, we had QPR. Do you remember?
Right,
after Zamora got them up.
Yeah. QPR went mental, didn't they? And yeah, it's a very dangerous game, especially if you go down like QPR did. I hope for their sake that they can scrape it. But you
guys don't seem to operate like that, do you?
No, we don't really. So the first two transfers were free. Tavernier is, I think Tavernier signed for us for about 10 million from Middlesbrough. Neto, of course, was very nominal fee. And then you got Sensei for 15 million. So we've only spent about 25, 30 million tops. We never really have done that in the Premier League. We've never really spent over the odds. And what's good is, and how we actually managed the COVID situation, was we actually signed players like Nathan Ake, for example, and then sold them on For Nathan Ake went for 47 million. Callum Wilson, he was a signing from Coventry, got us promoted to Premier League. When he was sold, he was sold for a lot more to Newcastle. So the money that we actually made back was, and to be fair, the board at Bournemouth are very good in doing that.
Well, you know what we're good at? Terminating contracts of our biggest record signings.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This is why I get onto this club, bro. Like, how are you guys able to sell your assets here? But with us, we just terminate contracts. Oh, we can't get rid of certain players, just terminate contract. You know what I mean? Ozil terminate. You know what I mean? Ramsey terminate. You know what I mean? Lacazette, Aubameyang. Do you know, it's disgraceful, bro. And this is why I get onto my club, because even the basics of scouting or selling or, renewing contracts, knowing what you're going to do with the player. If you don't want him with 2 years to go, if he doesn't want to sign on, get your maximum value and move on. Do you know what I'm saying? We don't do that. And this is why I get so frustrated with Arsenal, because it's like the bare minimum I'm asking that any club knows how to do well. Why can't we? Do you know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense. When I've seen in the past Leicester being able to scout properly, when I'm seeing you guys being able to sell properly, and other teams in the Premier League being able to sell, Spurs. One thing that Spurs do is you're never gonna get 80% off. This isn't Poundland, this isn't Iceland, this isn't none of them. You know what I mean? There's no 80.
Yeah.
Arsenal's 80% off, and this is why when you're allowing your top scorers and even your biggest transfer record, like we bought Pepe for 70 million. Okay, cool. He's not worth 70 mil, but at least play him, get his stats up, at least play him in the cups and stuff.
Yeah.
If he gets his, then when it comes to selling him, you can say, look, he might not be a starter, but he contributed in the FA Cup, he contributed in the Carabao Cup. This is his value because he's still at a decent age and, he has contributed, and there you go. No, we completely froze him out of the team, and now his valuation's gone down to 25 million pounds. If we sell him, what other winger are we going to get of his level at 25 million pounds?
Yeah.
Makes no sense. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, nothing that we do makes sense, and honestly, like, it's pathetic. Like, honestly, like Leno, international for Germany, but buy him for 20 odd million pounds, sell him for 3 mil, and it'll only go up to 8 mil if Fulham avoid relegation. That is pathetic. At least break even on your investment. Do you get what I mean? It doesn't make any sense, bro. Like, honestly, it just frustrates me. We get Tavares for 7 mil and then loan him straight back out. We buy Trusty and then loan him straight back out. And it's just like, we need to work on our starting lineup. It's not like our starting lineup is fixed, because even with our so-called best players, the best we've done is 5th. So what does that say? You know what I mean? It makes no sense. And this is why my frustration just pisses me off. Like, all super fans want to say, oh, we got the best team in the world. Where are we going to finish? I'll just about be happy if we got 4th. But you're telling me we've got the best manager in the world, best youngsters in the world. It don't make no sense. Either they're the best or they're not the best, because you ain't getting us in the best position, which is 1st. So you don't really believe that. Do you know what I mean? It's just, it's frustrating. I can't lie to you. And when I'm hearing that, you guys are able to sell players, I'm like, it's not that hard. With 2 years to go, decide whether you're going to keep him or whether you're going to sell him. Do you know what I mean? Look at Tielemans over there. The 2 easiest signings in the whole transfer window, Arsenal was still unable to get it over the line. Tielemans, he wants to go and the club want to sell. We still ain't got that over the line. But Suma, we allowed Spurs to go in there. If we went in there, we're a bigger club than Spurs. We should have gone in there. Because I'll tell you what, he may not be better than Partey, but he's 100%, I'll argue, he's better than El Nene.
Yeah, definitely.
This club's going to get me old. All these blocks are going to start falling out, Gadamba. Like, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. But listen, people, make sure you like and subscribe to Craig's channel. The link is in the description. Make sure you go support. The more the merrier. Each channel has their own, their own thing. And the more channels, the better, the variety. Do you know what I mean? I'm subscribed to channels that are not even Arsenal channels, because sometimes I like hearing about other channels and I like hearing what they got to say, what the fans have got to say. So listen, I know this is an Arsenal channel, but go and support my guy. Go support him. You know what I mean? Go check out his content. Is there anything that you guys are coming next on your channel?
We've got an interview with our chairman, or former chairman, Eddie Mitchell, coming up. That is coming up on Sunday. So quite an interesting conversation that. But we've had Harry Redknapp doing his season preview show as well. So yeah, there's loads of content that's still coming up.
Well, at least your chairman cares. I mean, mine just does all the talking and yeah, hey bar, let's play soccer. You know what I'm saying? I never see it, bro. Zooming off in his Range Rover. You know what I mean? I swear down, man. I just want to dash a slush puppy at his head. Like, I'm sick of it, bro. You know what I mean? Twerking for the Amazon All or Nothing documentary. So feel that puta. You don't care about this club, bro. You just care about leeching. Do you know what I mean? Nah, I gotta call him filo da puta because I'm sick of these owners, bro. Like the way, literally, yeah, on the All or Nothing documentary, if you ain't seen it, yeah. He literally turns up for the first episode and he's all there like, yeah, Mikel, what are we gonna do? Yeah, let's play bar. Yeah, the team is going really great. He don't turn up for another 7 episodes, all the way to the end of the flipping season. Episode 8 comes in and says one thing. It's like, do you really actually care?
Yeah.
But you ain't got that problem at Bournemouth.
No, exactly.
It is what it is. So yeah, big up to the Bournemouth chairman. You're setting an example for football chairmen to come out and speak to the fans, man, because you know a lot of fans will, you know, I think all of us, we just want our team. You just want to connect with the club. I think that's what all football fans want. We just want to feel connected and feel like the club care. That's all we want. You know what I mean? Like that's the minimum, basic minimum that we want. But listen, after the Arsenal match, all the luck in the world. But
thank you so much.
No luck on Saturday. It is what it is. Are you going to the match or are you going to be?
I certainly am. Yeah, I'm going to be going to the match. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, I'm hoping for a slightly different result to you guys. And hopefully the heart is right rather than the head.
There you go. Listen, it is what it is, people. Make sure you go like and subscribe to Craig's channel. Links is in the description. And yeah, hopefully Arsenal get the business done. And yeah, listen, it is what it is. Listen, no hating on Bournemouth. I used to love going there on holiday with my family. Great memories. Great club, man. Great club. Great town. I love Bournemouth. But without further ado, we're out. Vamos, caramba.